We are back with another edition of This is Greensboro via Zoom, and we have Zack Matheny here, CEO of Downtown Greensboro Incorporated. Great to see you, Zack. I wish it could be in person.
Me too.
Soon, I hope. So a lot has been going on in downtown Greensboro since the beginning of the pandemic and the shutdown. We were really on the cusp of a really exciting time for downtown Greensboro. The ACC tournament was here, and the Tanger Center was about to open, and there was just a lot of energy around things happening here. And then, of course, all of that came just crashing down with lockdowns and quarantines. Talk about kind of the impact on downtown Greensboro and how DGI kind of jumped in to help kickstart things a little bit.
Well, you're right, Rosemary. I mean, we were certainly on the cusp of achieving such great things. You know, the Hyatt Place had come off its first year. It had most rooms and most bookings than any other Hyatt Place in the world. It did phenomenally well, and things were just transitioning towards a great future. The Tanger Center, we were hosting a party for the ACC the Thursday when everything kind of stopped. The world kind of stopped. And, you know, leading up to those times, you know, there were still issues with restaurants and retailers. I mean, retailers in particular, with being able to click and buy something and have it on your front door the next day without leaving your house or getting out of your pajamas is pretty attractive, unfortunately. And the retail world we were struggling with leading up to this. And like many other organizations, including the city of Greensboro, we had to pivot. And we pivoted well enough to create some new programs that help the community, help the retailers, and try to keep the focus on downtown alive as much as we could.
So there was a big focus really when when we all went home on supporting local restaurants especially. And a lot of us were getting takeout from our favorite local restaurants. And the restaurants, I thought, did a great job pivoting to make that happen, to make it safe, to make people feel comfortable. And downtown Greensboro restaurants kind of took it a step further, not just providing meals for those of us who are at home, but trying to provide meals for those who had to go to work too.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a situation where I had many restaurateurs that didn't know if they were going to do takeout, didn't know if they were going to open, were worried about the community in this pandemic, but also worried about their employees and how to spread. And so it was truly a time that we had to figure out how to pivot and work together. And so through that collaboration, DGI with the restaurateurs and Colin Hospital created a Feeding the Front Lines. And what we were able to do with that program was essentially raise $65,000 a day for frontline workers at Colin Hospital. And so those folks that are keeping us safe were able to make sure that they had a meal, but also we were able to work with 20 restaurants to make sure that they knew they had revenue coming in. We gave them a 20% gratuity so their workers knew that they were going to have some income coming in. And so it was enabled to allow them to work in a safe environment, to feed the front line of our public safety and hospital officials. And it was a great collaboration. I'll tell you that seeing the smiles when we picked up the food from the workers, knowing that they had a job and they could go to work, and then seeing the smiles on the face of the frontline hospital workers, so appreciative of the meals that we were able to deliver. It was a win-win and truly helped everybody.
And it was a feel good too. I mean, it made everybody feel good to be helping in a couple of different ways. When they gave money, or when they were making the meals, or when they were delivering the meals, you felt like you were actually doing something at a time when it felt like you couldn't do anything.
And it's so nice to just see smiles on people's faces, whether it's when we're picking up the meals, the smiles from the workers because they're so appreciative to be able to work, and then the smiles on the folks on the front lines that were just so appreciative that they didn't have to worry about where their lunch meal came or whatnot. And so, you know, one thing about people is we love other people. We innately want to be around other people, and you know, it's nice to see you smiling on a computer, but it's a lot better when you're in person. And so being able to interact with other humans is important for our lives. So that it was fun.
Absolutely. Of course, then downtown suffered some more losses due to vandalism at the end of May. And that was really tough, particularly in the businesses who hadn't been able to open at all or were just getting started to reopen.
I've had, unfortunately, many tears shed to me thinking, what can we do? What are we going to be able to do? I was struggling to begin with, and now I've got no income coming in. And in this case, before the vandalism, we had started a retail revitalization grant program, which DGI started, GMA sponsored, City of Greensboro sponsored through the United Way. We had anonymous donors, and Rosemary, we raised over $105,000 that go directly to putting grants into retailers' pockets. And what they're doing, it doesn't sit in their pockets very long. They're using it to pay rent. They're using it to build inventory. They're using it to get open and stay open. And, hopefully what we're going to be able to do is go back and do a second and third tranche that maybe folks that even got a $1,500 grant may be able to get a little bit more to just help them through this really, truly crisis period. And I'll tell you, we had matching donors come out. Both these programs were organic. They started with us, but the community carried them forward through GoFundMes. And it's been phenomenal to see. And I'll tell you, talk about smiles on people's faces. When you're giving them a grant, you just say, hey, we love you, we support you, you're our neighbor, you're our community. We want you to be here. And it meant the world to those folks. And so we're trying to figure out how to continue that with the retailers in particular, because the community has to support them.
Mm-hmm. Well, talking about seeing the community really pull together, I think that really shone through early June when the murals started going up and the volunteers came downtown to help clean up and people were painting and walking downtown. It was more activity than we've seen downtown in months, really. And it was really wonderful to see. What was that like to you, to see it, what seemed like a disaster really change into something pretty moving?
No, it's the sense of it's everybody's downtown. It's everybody's downtown. And when the vandalism occurred late May, early June, we had people showing up with brooms and dustpans just helping clean up. People that I haven't seen downtown before. The emails and notes that we received from other companies wanting to send their employees downtown. And then when the plywood went up, because we didn't know what was going to happen, to see the artists come together that have come down to view the art. I'll tell you that we need to open these storefronts back up, and the plywood, it will be stored in some capacity so that we can all honor it as we see fit, whether it's at the Historic Museum, potentially at War Memorial Stadium, that A&T is transitioning ownership, or some other locations. And we need folks to continue to come downtown to support our business owners, your neighbors, but we're also going to honor that artwork as well. And it's touching when folks are coming down and seeing it. I just hope we'll continue to come down and support these women and men that own these shops and are just having a tough time.
Absolutely. Zack, talk about what's going to happen in downtown Greensboro going forward. The city recently allocated some money that DGI is going to use to help get some of these retailers and restaurants and downtown businesses back on their feet. Can you talk about that process and what it looks like moving forward?
Unique event that happened that we had some vandalism downtown and throughout the city, quite frankly. And the city's support of saying, hey, look, we did the best we could from a police standpoint and helping monitor and help people be people and keep the people safe. And then according to that, some other things were vandalized. And we need to help our business owners and property owners rebuild after that. And so the city council supporting that is a huge initiative because many of these properties, insurance doesn't necessarily cover the vandalism that took place. And so we're working with property owners, business owners to understand their needs, to understand the cost of boarding up the windows, taking down the windows, replacing windows, inventories that were taken, and just working with them so that we can get this city back up and going, and that everybody will want to be in the heart of what is their center city. Because as I mentioned, it's everybody's downtown. And so we're working with everybody to ensure that we get up and going again as fast as we can.
What do you see as the future for downtown Greensboro?
It's going to turn. I don't know if it's the fall. I don't know if it's when Folk Festival comes in their capacity. Rosemary, I hope that we can put on a festival of lights. It's my favorite event when families and people come down together. Maybe it's first dates or whatever it is, and light that community tree. We've got to see what's happening in the world and get through this COVID crisis, pandemic. But downtown is a place that everybody can congregate because everybody owns it. And it's the most diverse section in our whole entire city that brings that community together. And so we're going to do everything we can to give people the opportunity to come experience each other together in downtown.
How's the best way that folks can help support our downtown community?
The key thing right now is if you're coming downtown, pop your head in, support these business owners, talk to them. Once you talk to them, you'll understand that it's not a big box store. The owners are in the shops working. I think it's just showing them support, showing the restaurants, as you mentioned earlier, if it's one meal every other week, whatever you can do to help. But we've seen artwork go up. We had One Love be painted on other peaceful protests that are great to bring people downtown and express your feelings. And so we just hope that we can do it safely, take the precautions that we need right now, and all be together.
Well, we look forward to it. Zack, thank you for all that you're doing. And we're going to be downtown. Yeah. We're anxious, just like you are, to get things back and going. And of course, if you want to find out more about some of the things happening in downtown Greensboro, or if you just need to kind of take a little virtual tour before you can go online. It is downtowngreensboro.org. Thanks so much, Zack.
Thank you.